Okay, so Angus Donald has finished episode 5 of book 1 of a very interesting literary storytelling experiment. I was very excited about this. So we're going to talk about it, both not just episode 5, which is called Arthur's Battle, but also the novel or book 1, which is called The Broken Kingdom. And I'm going to explain all that before we get started. A little housekeeping. First of all, who am I? My name is Cody Siangdahl, and I am the author that you know, your friend. If you would do me a favor, please like and subscribe to my channel. And we're growing every single day. I'm hoping to, I don't know, make it bigger. I have to apologize. I almost missed a week. I mean, I kind of did. My goal is to go live once a week. Why do I do it? Well, there's a few things. First of all, I'm marketing. I'm building myself up. I'm building my platform as an author, but I also like to, as a way to interact with other people who may be interested in some of the behind the scenes things I do as a writer, and to talk about one of the big things I do is I read other people's books and I review them. And I never give anybody a bad review. If I don't like the book, and there's been books that I've read that I did not like, I just don't review it. And I give them 5 stars. Why? Because there's a lot of times, a lot of people give books bad reviews for dumb reasons. So I'm trying to help balance that out. And plus, I would like to have 5 stars. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do that to anybody else who is trying to make a living, trying to build a readership. So first of all, 5 stars for Angus Donald on 2 things. This is gonna be kind of a double review, and I'm gonna explain to you why that is, but because it's all part of this experiment. And I'll be honest with you, I probably would not have been interested in this story in this book had it not been the experiment. And but the great thing is that even though I probably would not have been interested in reading it on its own, once I started reading it, I was very excited and wanted to continue. And first of all, I gotta say that Angus Donald is an author that I was reading before I started writing novels myself. I mean, I started writing novels back in the '90s, but didn't get through writing one. I had an attempt to do so, but once I started professionally writing novels and publishing them, well, I had been reading him before that, so I already liked him. I was already a fan, so it was a pleasure to read his latest work, one of his latest work, and I don't know how this guy gets everything done. So anyway, so the reason why, here's my big excuse why I wasn't. It's been so long since my last live stream, and I want to do them once a week just to get used to it, to get used to talking to the camera. I mean, I was a professional reporter before, but that's been years since I've been in front of a live camera on television. So it's just kind of building that muscle. And plus, they say, consistency helps you grow. So if the people that follow you see that you're on a regular basis, you'll grow and grow and grow. At least that's what I hope for. I am down in Florida. My father's in hospice, and I'm taking care of him. And I do not know how long that will be. I went back up to Nashville for a week so I could see my girlfriend and mow my lawn, and then came back down. So I've been bouncing around quite a bit, and so it's been hard for me to find a place to do a live, not just a place. As you can tell, I'm in a different room right now. This is my dad's office. He's out on the lanai, but just in the time of day too, and trying to get the rhythm of being a caretaker and taking care of my father's needs and writing my current work in progress, and still doing things like a weekly live stream. So that's why you're going to see me bounce around quite a bit. So this is today. I don't know when the next one's going to be, but I'm going to try to make it. I'd like to try to get back onto Sunday. We'll see what happens. I have some ideas and of what I'd like to talk about, but let's move on to what I was selling this live stream to be about, and that is our my review of Angus Donald's Broken Kingdom episode 5. So let me pull this up here. And let's see, share screen. And there we go. All right, this is the book that we're going to be talking about here. And I should explain, before we even get started, I'm going to explain to you. Uh, well, actually, I think it's in the review, but basically, what he's doing is that Angus writes novels for like commercial publishers, and he's got a contract with a publisher, and he's putting out um, books and all that stuff, and he decided to try to do some independent publishing like I do, in which in between his projects he would put out a episode. So basically, okay, let me get my head together here. Basically, what he's doing is that as he's writing this series, which is going to be a series of novels, he is publishing it in episodes. So each episode is about 20,000 words, which is about 80 pages. It's about 6 chapters, and he's been putting them out about once a month. There was a 4-month break between 2 of them, but most of them have been about once a month. And then what he does is once he has all like the first 5 episodes out, those 5 episodes then become book 1, a novel. And so book 1 of the Wormkind Chronicles, and I don't know if that's going to be a trilogy or if that's going to be a continuing series. I guess we'll see. But he finished, we're going to talk about episode 5 and the novel itself, because what he did was he finished episode 5, put it out. That finished the story of book 1, which is called The Broken Kingdom. And then once episode 5 was out, he then consolidated the episodes and then released it as a book. And right now you can get it both in I think you get paperback and on Kindle, and I think he's working on getting a narrator to do an audiobook as well. Hopefully Amazon will do for him what they did for me. Well, I don't know if he would want to. My books I have audiobooks on all my books, but it's an AI narrator. I don't know if he would do that or not. So let's get into it. I'll read my review right from the webpage here. This is it. So you can see it's The Broken Kingdom, episode 5, Arthur's Battle, Wormkind Chronicles, book 5. But it's really actually episode 5 of book 1. Are you confused? Don't be. I'll explain it some more as we go. And then, all right. So, and look at that top review from the United States. I think it's just me and one other person. Let's see here. Sitting at 4.5. Okay. So, Arthur's Bane is a bombastic conclusion to a fresh foray into the Arthurian legend. Angus Donald masterfully. My allergies are killing me, so my tongue is like double the size. I can barely talk. Angus Donald masterfully blends the known history of sub-Roman Britain with its myths and legends to bring us a seamless marriage of historical fiction and fantasy, including the battle scene with the dragon we all been waiting for. It felt right out of a Godzilla movie. Honestly, I was struck breathless as Sithral's full power was unleashed upon an army of mere mortals. It was absolutely metal. Arthur also proves himself to be a true hero that we can cheer for when he faces the choice between expediency or honor in dealing with his allies and enemies. The conclusion of the book is satisfying. It leaves several open threads that will make you want to continue the series. Arthur's Battle is the 5th and final episode of Book 1, The Broken Kingdom, which is the first novel of what promises to be the Wormkind Chronicles series. If you haven't read the previous episodes, read episode 1, Arthur's Bane, then read through the following episodes from there. However, Donald has now released the Broken Kingdom, all episodes, as a full novel containing all 5 episodes. I suggest buying that at this point, because it's currently a better deal. This may be confusing, but it's part of a fascinating experiment in which I would happily participate. Donald is a well-known author in the historical fiction, action, adventure genre. He's got several successful series published through traditional commercial publishing houses. The Wormkind Chronicles is his own independent series, but instead of waiting to finish each novel before publishing, he's releasing the story as a series of episodes as he writes. Each episode has around 6 chapters and is about 20,000 words or 80 pages. The episodes came out nearly monthly, with about a 4 month break between episode 4 and 5. The first 5 episodes make up the first novel of the series. This made the story feel like an old school serial in which I could look forward to the next episode. It also made it a bit hard to follow. I had to refresh my memory of the story with each new episode because I had forgotten a lot in the time in between. This won't be a problem for new readers now that they can simply buy the book as one complete novel and read it all at once. That was the most impressive. What was most impressive that what was most impressive was that Donald treated each episode as a story arc into itself, with its own climax and cliffhanger. It took a lot of discipline to make each episode satisfying and yet tell a greater story. Even the last episode of the book one portends more to come. I look forward to seeing how the experiment evolves. What are the lessons learned, and what practices will continue? What will change? All I can say is I am here for the ride. So that is. Let me go back to this page here. All right, and let me make sure I'm still on camera. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, that's basically it. And I do think it was a very interesting experiment. It harkens back to like the 19th century and the early 20th century, where a lot of times, like Dumas, who is the example I always use, when he wrote The Musketeers of the Count of Monte Cristo, he first released it chapter by chapter as a serial and then consolidated it into a novel. So it's nothing new, and it's not quite unheard of today. I think Amazon has a program called Vela, in which people can write episodics, and I think they use non-fungible coins. I think there was too many. It was too weird. I've heard that like certain genres it works really well. I think maybe romance or fantasy or whatever, but I don't know how long that's going to be around. I know Angus enough that I can interact with him on social media, and I did ask him why he chose not to, and I think his answer was something like, "Well, I don't know. I didn't really think about it, but I think he was better off doing it this way in retrospect." The other thing I was curious about, and I asked him once again in a tweet, was, "What do you do when all 5 episodes have been released?" I think the first one came out last year in the fall. I can't remember, but once everything's released, and then you consolidate it into the novel, do you leave the episodes up, or do you take all the episodes down and just sell the novel? I think his answer was he was going to leave the episodes up, because my concern with that would be, well, if you took all the episodes down now because the whole book is up, you might have people that are in the pipeline that are only on episode 3 that now they have to buy the book to finish the story. So I think I'll be interested to see how this continues when he goes to book 2. I'll probably continue. At first I was like, I'm probably going to only read just book 1, but I've invested myself in it enough that I want to see how this works out. Is this something that I'm going to do? I don't think so. Not yet. I think that it wouldn't work with the series I'm writing, and I think because my series is already established, so it would be really hard for me to I'm writing book 6 right now, and it would be really hard for me to tell my readers, okay, now you have to buy episodes, or new readers would have to go and read all 6 of the books and then jump in. I rate each book as if you haven't read anything of mine, even though all the books connect. So I think if I were ever to do something like this, that I would have to start an absolutely fresh, brand new series And will I do that someday? I don't know, but I'm interested to see how how Angus fares with this. Let's now. This is kind of a double review because that was on episode 5, and without doing any spoilers, there's a lot of things that I liked about it. First of all, like I said, every episode is like a little novella. I mean, they all fit together in this overall story, but it's like, and I think that's neat. It's like there's every one of them. They typically start on action, and there's usually some kind of battle or some kind of big climax, and then a little bit of a cliffhanger so that you need to read more. The thing I liked about it on this one is uh, Arthur is really tested where he has to decide, now that he's, and we'll do, I guess, light spoiler alert. Light. I'm going to try to be as vague as possible, but might give some things away. But he is freshly at the end of episode 4. He has freshly arrived uh, to a position of power, and now that he has the power, he has decisions to make, including how to deal with someone who betrayed him, and then also, um, in a coming battle, whose side to pick. Are you going to pick the person who stood by you in your time of need, or are you going to go with the other guys who are more likely to win, and it'd be more expedient and it'd be more um, advantageous to your own situation? And Arthur has to make a decision, and I think it was very interesting to see him tested that way. And what makes someone truly great, and it's not always just because they're great fighters. Another thing I really liked about it is the whole book uh, has been teasing about the dragon, and there's a dragon in this, and it's really interesting how Donald uses the fantasy elements, because the fantasy elements aren't like prevalent everywhere, but they do show up even in the first episode of this dragon, and this dragon has been kind of traveling, and it's coming, and it promises to be a very formidable foe. And we finally get to see the dragon. There's a battle in this in which the dragon is unleashed upon an entire army of men. And it is, I mean, it, like I said, it was absolutely metal. It felt like I was watching a monster movie. It was just the way it was described. It was so breathtaking. And I mean, it's all the reason why we read books like this. I really enjoyed that. I also think that it's very interesting that um, there is, like, historically, he's using the real era and a lot of the kingdoms that made up Wales and Britain and all that. Um, but he's also adding in this other element. And what makes it kind of interesting is that um, you know they call it the dark ages for a reason, because not everything was documented. So, like, could this have really happened? I don't know, but it's not. I guess what I'm trying to say is that his Arthur world is not completely a fantasy world. It's not a made up world. It is our world. It is some of the kingdoms that are mentioned. I think most of them, or all of them, were actually real kingdoms. And the Anglo and the Saxons are beginning to invade Britain, and so the background of everything feels authentic and real, except that there are sorcerers who can transmit their consciousness into animals to spy on people. I think that's really interesting. And there is a dragon, and all sorts of mythical creatures that are called worm kind. And I feel like the mystical creatures are created from the dragon, if that makes any sense. So throughout all 5 episodes, we've had a lot of teasing. We've seen the dragon, we've seen it feed on victims, but to see it actually, like, in action and just mauling an entire army of people, that was pretty amazing. Okay, so that was episode 5. And then what he did was Episode 5 was the last episode of book 1, which is called The Broken Kingdom. So let's take a look at that. Let's see here. Let me go back to this. And unfortunately, for some reason, it never shows up in my shopping or previous looked at things. Let's see if there's a back way of getting to it. No, I don't know why. And the other thing that makes me a little nervous is, I read this book through the chapters that were, or I'm sorry, the episodes that have been released. And I did a review without actually buying the novel because I've already read the novel, but just in episodic form. So I'm worried that Amazon thinks I'm being underhanded here. Because see, right now it says no customer reviews, and I think I wrote the review for this. I think Monday or Tuesday. So that's a little interesting there. Let's see if we can find another way to get to my review. Let's see. Let's take that down, remove that, and stop share. And then I have to go somewhere else. So we're going to share screen, the window, and I thought I had this up. I see. Okay, let me try this again. Sorry. We're live here, folks. Things happen. All right, share screen. Still. Okay, well, I can do this. Let's just go to my Facebook page. So I've done a review for each episode that he put out in this. So there's 5 reviews, and then everything's really slow. And then once I finished with my episode 5, I then consolidated all my reviews and put out a review. Here we go. Put out a review for the whole novel in of itself, because the novel, at this point, we're selling a novel that it's got to have its own review, right? So here I am. Let me make sure I got this on camera here. All right. Okay. Oh, I see. All right, let's do this. Remove. Sorry, folks. We're getting there. Stop screen. Share screen. All right, there it is. All right, look at that handsome guy. Who's that? Okay, good. So one of the things I started doing is when I do a review, I share it. First of all, I put it on Goodreads and Amazon. Let me get back here. Okay. I put it on Goodreads and Amazon because that's what's most helpful to the author. So if you're doing reviews for people, make sure you give them 5 stars or as many stars as you think they deserve, and then take that review and copy and paste it onto the Amazon review page and do it for Goodreads and Waterstones, especially for a lot of these British writers that have that if they're selling them in the stores, I guess that's a good place for those to go as well. But I was originally taking my Goodreads review and then sharing that in all my social media. And then I thought, well, why am I promoting Goodreads when I could be promoting myself? So I started putting my reviews in my WordPress account and then using the WordPress account to share on Twitter and Facebook and all those places. So let's take a look at this. So this is the review for not episode 5, but book 1 of the Wormkind Chronicles. So book review of The Broken Kingdom by Angus Donald. With swords, shields, sorcerers, and a dragon, The Broken Kingdom is a fresh take on the Arthurian legends. Romans have left Britain. Anglo-Saxon warriors are pouring in, looking for land and wealth. The Brythonic kingdoms are too splintered to stop them. Yet there is a greater threat to the east that only a united Britain has a chance to withstand. And perhaps only one man with a very special sword can unite them. I read this novel as it was released in episodic form. I put that line in there so that right now my this review is in review with the Amazon moderators. So I want them to know the reason why I have a review for this ready to go as soon as it's released is because I've already read it in a different format. Donald masterfully blends the known history of the sub-Roman Britain with its myths and legends to bring us a seamless marriage of historical fiction and fantasy. I was immediately drawn into the story. I found the dragon to be spine-tingling and breathtaking. Sithral's full power unleashed upon an army of mere mortals felt right out of a Godzilla movie. It was absolutely metal. Donald writes very visual battle scenes that put you right in the center of the action and present real stakes for the characters you care about. And then what I do, this is the other reason why I do my reviews on my WordPress account, because I'm able to load these previews. It's like this widget, so you can preview the book. So that's what the book cover looks like if you buy like the paperback or the Kindle version. But you can, without leaving the page, you can read the what do you call it, the preview, which usually is a couple chapters, and they're usually pretty gratuitous with those previews. And then here's the real reason why, so I can also plug my own book here. So check out my latest novel here, and then of course The Prussian Prince, which is my book. You can go there and you can read the preview as well. So that is it. That is my review of not only episode 5, but also of book 1 of the series. I recommend it. I know it's a subgenre called historical fantasy. I'm not a real big fan of historical fantasy. I'd rather read things, the closer to the real history the book is, the better. But this was a lot of fun. Like I said, I think it was a very fresh take on Arthur. I've seen multiple versions of Arthur in books and movies and TV shows. So I was impressed that he was able to take a well-known character that, we have seen the story multiple times. We've seen it with the famous 1980 Excalibur movie. There's been several movies since about Arthur. There's been some great books, including Bernard Cornwell's. And so to take something like that has been written multiple times in multiple versions, and come up with something fresh and new and interesting, and something that draws you in and makes you want to read more, that takes a lot of skill. So good for him. All right, so we did that. A couple things. I'll give you my update. All this traveling back and forth between Florida and Nashville has made it kind of hard. I think 5 months into writing the French Fiasco, and I'm about 52,000 words into the story. And I will say that and just to give you a reference, Rampage on the River was 56,000 words. And I think my longest book, Mexico My Love, was 124,000. So I'm getting closer to, but I have a long ways to go. I'm about 52,000 words. I'm probably about 2/3 into the story. I'm trying to get it to be about, I want it to be around between 80 and 90. Like I don't want it to be more than 90,000. I certainly want it to be, it'll definitely be more than my first book. So I'll be happy if it's anything more than Rampage on the River. Today, I guess I kind of hit a wall for a while, because I came to a point where I needed more information, and I wasn't finding it in any of the books or articles I was reading, because in this part of the story, in my story, my characters are part of the the emperor's escort as Emperor Napoleon III flees from Metz and makes his way. Eventually, I think when they go to Verdun, and then takes a train to get to Chalon, and from there he's going to end up in Sedan. And for those of you who know the history, you know what happens in Sedan. But I needed more detail, like where was he, like on this day, this day, this day, to make it fit my story. And I did a lot of research, a lot of reading. I finally went to a Facebook group called the Franco-Prussian War and the Second Empire, and I asked there, and I had all sorts of experts get back to me. And not only did they tell me place by place where he was, but they had photographs of like the houses in which he stayed the night, and that was a huge help. So I had to consolidate all that, and then I had to go back and update things that I had previously written that I had to change because I had better information. Because, like I said, not just in reading, but in my own writing, I want to make sure that I want to be as close to the real history as possible. So that when you read any of my novels, the historical, you can rest assured that you now have some knowledge of these historical events, because the way I depict the historical events and historical characters are true. See what I'm saying? So I had so I had to do all that and then kind of get my confidence back up to start pushing this story forward. And this morning I got up at 5, went downstairs. I usually try to do all my writing before my dad gets up because there's a lot I need to do to help him. And I got my word count quota in for the first time in about a week, and I feel confident now that I can keep going for a while until I hit the next roadblock. So that's where I am. A little scary is that some of the people who that I interacted with in that group are now interested in the book, and they're like, "Oh, when's this coming out? Let me know when it comes out." And so now I'm really scared because, now I know that the pressure is on to make sure that I'm absolutely immaculate with the historical aspects of the book. And this is the Franco-Prussian War, which is not as, at least here in the United States, it's not as well documented as like the American Civil War, which is where my series begins. So, but either way, there's always little hiccups along the way when you're writing a novel where you hit a wall and you need to back off a little bit and spend some time researching and rewriting and things like that. But it looks like I'm on schedule to have it out early next year. And I'm very excited about it. I mean, I'll tell you this, what I've written so far, I like a lot. I think it's going to be a fantastic book. If you like everything I've written before, I think you'll love this book. And that's it. So anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go. Love you guys. And if there's an author out there you like, whether it's me or someone else, and you want to help them out, go on to Amazon, go on to Goodreads, give them 5-star reviews, and keep reading. And if you're a writer, never quit. Keep writing. And you just have to push yourself through the writer's block periods. We all get it. Everybody suffers from writer's block. And what you do is you keep trying and keep working, and you'll get through. All right. Talk to you guys soon.